We good now?
We're good.
Alright, so let's start this episode of The Hype. Once again, this is Dustin Moret joining me, Jordan n0thing Gilbert, and we're about to do the 5th episode of The Hype here. So first we're going to start with some current news items. They're going to be really fast, but I just kind of want to get your thoughts, because some of them are actually kind of big news and might matter to you as a team, you know, going forward against like your competition. But the biggest news item, did you hear about WCG today?
I saw a tweet. That's all I saw. That sucks.
So apparently WCG is ceasing operations. Now they haven't really been running CS events for a while anyway. They were focused on, I think, on like what, Crossfire, that free FPS was like the FPS they were using. Do you have any comments on WCG stepping away from esports? I know you played probably in a shit ton of WCG events like in 1.6 and stuff. So any comments on them being done?
Well, it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because to be honest, I don't get it because I don't see their business plan. I don't see what supported them, what facet brought it all together. But Samsung's is a huge brand, and esports is only growing. So maybe they just didn't have the right game selection. Maybe they spread themselves too thin with too many games. I'm not sure, but either way, it's unfortunate because I think WCG treated players the best out of any tournament when I went to a final. Like when we went to China. They were in LA, and I was in China twice for it. They had shuttles to and from the venue from the hotel. They provided you breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner. They had player parties before and after the event for you, and they had like practice areas at the World Finals and one of the national finals. So every tournament was all about the players being facilitated properly and stuff, and that was awesome because you got to practice and warm up on the device you're going to compete on. They had like PR event signing, so they made it feel like you're at like a professional event, you know, with the watermark backdrop and all the reporters come out and talk to you from the local country. So they really made it feel like an exclusive event. So I'm not quite sure, you know, what went wrong for them.
Yeah, I wonder if, I don't think it's really going to have a significant impact on CSGO per se, unless they were looking in the future to supporting the game. But I guess like as the esports industry as a whole, yeah.
Everything kind of supports each other, right?
Right.
I mean, unless you're League of Legends and you just
do your own thing. Yeah.
Hang out in the corner a bit.
It's kind of weird because StarCraft 2 starting to decline as well, like another big esport, and they're having issues with that. And so I don't know. I hope this is just like a hiccup along the way, but it seems like, I mean, LCS is perfectly fine, League of Legends is perfectly fine, CSGO seems to be on the rise, but some of these other games seem to be like kind of dwindling.
Dwindling.
Well, Dota's growing too, obviously, but I meant like StarCraft 2 is like fading away.
They plateaued a bit, but they're at a decent plateau.
Yeah.
The top 20 player, the top 50 players made over 60 grand last year, I think.
Right. And I think the next expansion pack will probably like refresh it at least for a little while. But yeah. So we'll move off of that. So next thing would be, have you been following this whole drama between LDLC and Mystik in the French scene?
Nope. I know a lot of players are swapped.
Right. So basically, what I understand is LDLC came back as an organization, and they picked up, like I guess the 2 best players from Mystik, which would be what, Kaylee, and I can't remember who the other one was.
KQLY and Hiroshima or whatever.
No, I think Hiroshima still plays for the actual Mystik lineup still.
Hiroshima.
Yeah, so I know Kaylee got picked up, and I can't remember who the other one was, but then they also picked up Apex, Happy, and Maniac, and I just can't remember who the 5th is. But either way, so that like they are now taking recursive spot at Katowice, or however you would say it. And Kenny S basically got screwed on that deal because he was on that recursive lineup that got that spot, and now he's actually playing with the people that were left behind from Mystik that didn't get picked up by LDLC and one of his former recursive teammates.
Yeah, sounds like the French scene has their own America-esque thing going on.
So my question is this: is this good or bad? Because one angle would be it adds more competition to the French scene because now you're spreading out the talent amongst like 3 teams now or 2 teams now instead of. And then, of course, you have Titan still, which is like the best. So is this helping or hurting, do you think? Or what do you think about it?
More competition always helps. I'll just pretty much say that. Keep it short. I don't know exactly how it's going to benefit. You don't always get a better team when you put better players together, unfortunately. So we'll see how their chemistry works out. The European scene probably benefit from it a little bit more challenging for their qualifiers in terms of like EMS or what have you, ESEA even. So that's good.
So my next question would just be, do you think with the LDLC lineup that they have now, and the Apex was the 5th that I didn't mention.
Okay.
So that lineup, so it's Maniac, Apex, Happy, Kaylee, and once again I'm missing the 5th. Like, I need to.
Yeah, I mean that's like, yeah, those guys all have the ability to upset any team, especially in the state of CSGO right now. It's a lot more. I wish I had a good word for this. I don't know. In 1.6, towards the end, you remember how you would see top teams and they would play maybe lower echelon teams. You knew when they were going to win, right? In this game, I feel like it's just not there as much. I feel like teams in that middle echelon moments where they could outshine the top echelon teams more so than in 1.6. So I feel like a team like Mystik, they won ESWC. Granted, they had a little easier bracket, but at the same token, they didn't like barely win. They played well. So
Right. So do you think like this new LDLC team will actually be a good competitor at this next IEM event? Like another French team that stands a chance besides Titan?
yeah, definitely someone to look out for because teams, when you start a new team, two things happen. Either everything meshes 100% naturally and people kind of have this natural inspiration. They make plays because they feel they should for whatever reason. So sometimes the intuitive side of things works out really nice when you make a new team because there's that fresh team motivation. On the other hand, they might not have a lot of practice, which might make them a mess if they lose piss rounds or something, So we'll see.
And it was Uzi, that was the one I missed out on. Or Uzi,
Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, either way. So my next question would be, so this is moving on the news. Nfaculty had some roster changes. They lost Kerrigan and Cajun B. They picked up MSL and somebody else. I know Nfaculty has kind of always been a team that can challenge people, but they've never really had like a huge result. Do you have any thoughts on them going forward?
No, my teammates watched them more. Nfaculty, who was their? I don't even remember their 5. I'm looking at HLTV.org right now.
Yeah, I know Kerrigan was one of them. Cajun B. They both left.
Who did
they
we
have
play
Glaive.
at DreamHack? We played the.
When?
Which group was that at DreamHack in groups? We played the Danish team first. Jesus Christ.
Hold on a second. I have it on here. Let me look here. You played in groups. You did play Nfaculty, and you beat them on Inferno 16-7.
Yeah, 16-7. They were playing like they were just trying to walk around. So teams like that, those are the teams in that middle echelon, like Nfaculty, who could just randomly win versus someone. Because if they walk up mid, say versus us, and they hit other shots on me, like lane, they could have beat us that game. But we beat them 16-7 just by literally having a little bit more of a sound team overall. When you could tell, they were just jumping up mid on me with one pop flash, and I happened to turn from the pop flash perfectly a couple times, got a couple easy 3 kills. So it's like those teams kind of go both ways depending on, I think, their just dedication to getting better. How much are they going to look at before they play next, or are they just going to scrim between tournaments?
I hear you. So the next question would be, of course, Virtus Pro just picked up the Polish team, and then that was not like super recent, but it's pretty recent. And then MYM had some changes. So I guess just in general, what do you think about this Polish scene? Can they produce a team that can challenge at this next IEM event?
Well, yeah, because when you're speaking about the Polish scene, first of all, they're in Europe, so they're Western European scene more particularly. Secondly, the Polish has a lot of pride among their community. So as long as Neo and Taz, Taz and Pasha are still there, those 3 guys, at least, especially Neo alone, just to experience those 2 from the old 1.6 Golden 5, so to speak, bring to the tables enough to drive those guys home if they put in the right amount of work.
So then you have the Finnish scene. H2K just won Winter Assembly. They beat teams like Ints, or actually they're not Finnish, but it was like a LAN, I think, in Finland. I guess they're Norwegian, right? H2K, I think. What do you think about some of these other teams, like from like Finland and the Norwegian teams? What do you feel about them?
Someone also just said Kenny S jumped on the LDLC roster.
Yeah, on ESEA. It's not official news yet, so we'll keep that open. That'll be weird having 2 oppers on that team.
Yeah, these other teams, I honestly like. the only thing when you say Finnish to me that I've been reminded of ever since I played with lurppis is he said pretty much the whole country's got almost a similar problem as us, but even more lazy. Like those guys have good talent, but they don't have a lot of leadership that basically makes them work hard and
Right.
perform like the Swedish teams do. These guys, they just seem like a lazy version of the Swedish players.
Isn't Nasu or whatever? Isn't that lurppis' brother?
Yeah.
He actually just quit ENTS and got replaced.
He quits and rejoins Finnish teams like twice a year.
Okay.
He's hilarious, but
that
yeah,
news
I don't know
just
the
broke.
Finnish division. I don't even know. I never take the Finnish team seriously until they like get on a top org and make it like a big deal.
Right.
I don't think they're doing that yet.
So the last bit of news actually transitioned straight to you and your team, and that was, of course, that you guys won CEVO against Exertus. And now I guess you guys are moving on to CEVO P with some of the other pro North American teams that we know. First of all, do you just have any thoughts or comments on that performance at CEVO and winning that event?
Yeah, I mean, shout outs to CEVO for at least having an event. A lot of people are talking crap on the prize pot being so small, but you know, I was like, we wanted to participate just to get the community jump started again, so that's cool. So rising the prize pot, hopefully they could keep raising that. It only helps. Obviously, there's a cost versus benefit. For that first season, it didn't really matter. If the prize pot were to stay low, we might reconsider if we had a busy schedule. But in terms of the final itself, that was actually kind of a struggle, right? We lost on Dust 2 first, Exertus, and then we beat him, what was it, on Inferno? Second?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dust 2, I think we just came out, you know, flat-footed, essentially, we used to call it in hockey. Where we would just come out and not really warm and playing a little sloppy, and that's always the excuse you could make. But you know, those guys aren't bad when the strats are going their way. They're just not too. They're kind of one-dimensional, so it's kind of easy once we just got into our rhythm to beat them. But on Dust 2, they were definitely just walking around getting picks on us, and we didn't expect that.
So just coming off of that, and of course they just picked up Shroud as their fifth to replace, like I think Summit. Of
Yeah,
course,
he seems to be playing pretty good. I don't even know where he came from.
Nobody does actually, but I don't think he really played CS competitively very much prior to CSGO. But he's definitely like a consistent streamer, and he seems to be really talented as an individual player. So I guess my question would be is and this kind of transitions into just I guess North America as a whole, is like, do you see another team out there besides you and I by Power that's kind of rising up in North America that can be a threat at some point?
Who have we been scrimming lately? Let's see. No one really dedicates themselves to it, so I don't really see that. Like, some people said U5 last season was, you know, showing some good promise, but even there, like, their whole lineup, are they still sticking together?
I've heard rumors that Sunman may start playing again and play with that lineup.
Yeah, Moses. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. There isn't really a third team that brings the level of dedication that our teams, us and I by Power, bring. Like, there's teams that'll practice for the ESEA online season, but it's really just based off the map of the week, you know? Whereas our two teams are constantly adjusting all of our maps.
Right. So now let's break down to getting to know you a little bit better now that the news is out of the way. So the first thing is I didn't want to focus on 1.6 a whole lot because I know that's in the past and this show's focused on CSGO. But I did just want to kind of ask one question at least that transitions your career from 1.6 to CSGO. And it's just one question. And my question would be is, what was it like to like finally let go of that game and actually make the decision to actually transition into CSGO? What was that process like for you?
Well, it seemed kind of like a drawn-out process because CS kind of started dwindling down. What was that, 2012? Really, in terms of events, like that was the first year I think like Intel Extreme Master said they weren't going to have it, and WCG said they weren't going to have it. So I kind of started slowly getting ready because I went from having like a fully sponsored EG team to kind of just like them realizing they didn't want 1.6, so me kind of just like functioning off of like limited resources of the teams I played with back to back at the end there, right? And a couple other people for the last couple seasons of ESEA. So quitting it was definitely one of those things where it gave me a chance to like reflect on the game I played. But Counter-Strike, you know, it's not like we're playing baseball or football or ice hockey. These sports are bound to like change. Like esports is bound to change as technology improves. So I think a lot of people knew that we wouldn't be playing CS forever. So it was one of those things where you're just like, hey, I'm done. Uh, that's why a lot of people say, do you miss 1.6? In a sense, I miss 1.6 because all the good tournaments, and I know how fun it could be to play. But that, you know, I don't know. It's an interesting thing with video games. You know, are they meant to just be played the same one forever? I don't know. Like, I don't mind CSGO at all. I think some stuff could be tidied up in terms of like physics, but in general, it still serves a similar purpose as 1.6. It just, I think it rewards a little different inconsistencies, but I'm kind of rambling here. But yeah. So, anyways, letting go 1.6 wasn't so hard, but obviously it made me think about, you know, what is still here with, you know, it still offers a competitive environment and everything. There's just a small couple differences, and it's mostly just in game. You know, the community's still mostly here. That was at the end of 1.6. It just kind of spread out more a little bit, I guess, right? We have source now. People still somehow holding onto the source stream. People in other countries still playing 1.6 because they don't have good enough computers for Go. So, I don't know. Still Counter-Strike.
Right. So I know your transition to Go seemed kind of rocky, not necessarily in talent perspective, but just like your motivation and your, I guess, interpretation of the game and whether you actually liked it or not. There's the infamous clip, right? Like everybody knows this clip where you're running around in Mirage. You're just like, this game, like I shouldn't be, like I can just run through this and do this and that.
Well,
and people took that out of context, I think, a lot. But if you want to comment on it, go ahead right now if you want. But I wasn't gonna make a big deal of it.
No, just commenting on everything you're talking about.
So my question would just be is like, so was it initially for you something you didn't maybe want to do? Like, did you have to make a decision whether or not you really wanted to keep playing CS? Like, if it meant you had to play a new version or?
Well, I kind of told myself I'd give it a try and feel it out because all I was doing was working and then just starting school. So I was like, if there's not a lot of tournaments, it doesn't really hurt, you know? Like, I could choose when to play or not to play as long as I'm not committed to a team. So for a while there, I was just kind of enjoying being a mercenary, so to speak, being able to play for whoever and feel out the progression of the game. So, like, for me, I knew that eventually they would get rid of some of the, you know, I don't know what to call them, cartoonisms, just like little added things to the game that people didn't like in terms of feel and movement and guns. Right. So like the strength of like some of the weapons when they first came out, the way you could use the Glock and the P250 and the Deagle and how all they, you know, I was like, those things are all going to change. So I knew they were all going to change. So that's why when I made that clip on Mirage, when I was kind of pissed, the reason I was kind of like quoting something they had said when people asked, why aren't you making this game more like 1.6 or something in terms of the feel? And they had said something along the lines of, we're trying to make this game more based off strategy than the 1.6. 1.6, you could just run out and fucking kill people. And I was laughing. I was like, but if anything, it's had an adverse effect because now you've made it easier for the average person to get these skilled kills, these kills that require finesse, and the like things like the model to the map size ratio. You know, now when you swing around a lot of corners in this game, the model fills up more of your screen versus 1.6 in a lot of areas on the map. So it's like little things like that I was just kind of like raging at in the moment, just like, don't justify these nuances because you think it's going to be more about strategy. That's why I was laughing. I'm like, I'm running through smoke, look it, nothing changes, I could just run up and fucking kill people. Like, doesn't require any more strategy than this. The smokes are retarded, the flashes fucking prevent you from hearing anything. The peeker's advantage gives me an advantage because I'm running through the smoke with the flash. So now not only do I have 3 new advantages, the physics are actually changed. So it's like, now I feel like I'm gliding on ice a little bit more rather than stopping on a dime every time I hit the opposite strafe, for instance. You know, because if you're holding D and you're running to the right and you want to fully stop because there's a guy shooting, you normally hit A, right? It's the opposite strafe. Well, in this game, it feels like you kind of like hit a speed bump when you do that. Like, you don't always just hit a stop, and it gets better with the lower ping you play. But those things like that I'm like, come on, right? The only people who still play this game are the super competitive, so you should at least adhere to that and let the effects trickle down rather than they're trying to make all these new aspects to the game, and I don't think that much new was needed. But I like the fact that they've added the skins and they've made more fanfare, and I think that's cool. People thought that was corny at first, but that's cool. And they're doing a better job. And I actually got to meet the guys pretty much all that work on the team, and they're all, you know, cool dudes that are trying to help out the community, and they're all trying to, like, you know, get everyone on the same wavelength. And it's just not easy. You know, you have the pros who care about consistency and high level tournaments, and you have the casual player who cares about you know, getting just a decent score maybe, or, you know, not just getting wiped out. So they're trying to, like, listen to these people, and that's where I was telling them, you got to be careful listening to the noob, because obviously he doesn't want to get shot through a wall. Obviously he would prefer an easier spread on the recoil. Obviously he wants flashes to and grenades in general have a bigger effect. But there's like there's a fine line there. What made Counter-Strike so cool is you couldn't just jump in and dominate or play well right away. You had to grind at it. Same with Quake. Same with StarCraft. If you play in a higher league than you're meant to, you get destroyed. And I like that.
Right on. So that transitions over to like your first stint as a competitor in CSGO, which I know you kind of played in Season 12 with like a random team that didn't really do much, but then you joined Dynamic in Season 13, which was of course the first time we had like the global LAN for ESEA. So we had, you know, 4 European teams. We had you guys, Curse, Quantic.
Well, I missed the first one, right? There's that mini LAN.
The 12, yeah. Season 12 was the LAN like you weren't a part of, so I was just kind of skipping over that. But Season 13 was the first
played
event.
With Dynamic. Yeah, I played as a Dren, Swag, Volcano, and AZK.
Right. So can you just tell us about your experience playing with that group and that season and how that went for you?
Prior to that, my team was Swag. We had a team with like me, Swag, P0S,
Are you trying to stab me, bro?
Jay Mitchell. Yeah, I have a knife right here. Fork.
That's a knife.
Where's my fork? I don't know. I ate food earlier. I'm just going to hold this for a minute while I say this. I'm going to wave it at my monitor.
Yeah, threateningly.
You mother... I'm going to have this knife when I stream now, and if people kill me, I'm like, listen, I'm going to come to your fucking house, and I'm going to stab you through the monitor. Okay, anyways. So, did you remember that when we should have went to ESWC with P0S, me, Swag, Jay Mitchell, and Kiko, I think, and
Swag was too young.
We got DQ'd.
Yeah.
It was so funny how a chain of events happened after that team, because Area 51 stayed together with Esgares, Dazed, Semphis, Hiko, and like Pinecone, right, or something. And it was so funny how that team stayed together because they won that. But I think our team would have beat all those teams at that LAN. We were playing everyone pretty solid, and that was like the first time I put in any effort in CS:GO. And then I kind of took a break, had a couple trips for CS, and I came back, joined Dynamic, Adren, me, Swag, AZK and Volcano.
So was this like?
And that was like all right.
Yeah, what made you join that team? Was it just like an opportunity because it was like one of the teams that you knew were probably like top 3 at least in North America, and it was like what was available for you, or like how did that come about?
Well, they actually, like, Adren and AZK had a pretty solid reputation in terms of they had been like a good pair, strat caller and an opper, and then we had Swag and myself, so I pictured myself as another entry fragger, and then Swag's like a support player, and AZK liked to entry / you know, kind of get grimy. So we figured me and AZK would entry. Then we got Volcano because he was just available, and we felt like if he really wanted to play a couple seasons, he'd be solid. And we weren't really sure about sponsorships or not. It became apparent to us about, I think, after halfway through the season that Volcano wasn't going to probably play the next season because of just the way things were going with work and his life and Heather and just being so busy. So the vibe kind of changed as we entered playoffs to like, let's just get comfortable. Let's not try to overdo ourselves with strats. Make sure we have some pistol rounds, some creative defaults, and that's pretty much it. And then we just kind of went in there, and that's why, yeah, we had no chance to do. I know we got one map off
Very
games on Dust 2. Did we just get smoked by, who did we play after that? Nip?
I know you got eliminated from the event by, I think, Quantic, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
Quantic beat you and
Curse. Because of course we lost very games, and then we had to play Quantic. And actually, that's another funny thing is Quantic ended up beating us, and then they beat Neo and Co. Which was hilarious, ESC, because those guys were furious. They played them on like Dust and
Mirage.
season, or Dust and Mirage.
No. Mill. I'm sorry, that's the season we had.
Was it
Mill.
Dust and Mill? Yeah, something like Dust 1 and Mill, exactly. And they were pissed. And then I remember like we were only like a round away from beating Quantic on Train, and we lost in overtime and by one round on the other map. So that was dumb. So it was funny because we knew the other teams well, so we were like pretty good individually, but as a team we didn't really have a lot of flow on dynamic.
Right, so then the Quantic drama happens after Season 13. Hiko and Symphosis go on their own to go make their own team. And then they basically kind of just brought Sean Garris back, who had kind of went into retirement for a little bit after Area 51's day. And then they pick up you and Swag off Dynamic. Now, how did this come about? Was Dynamic kind of crumbling anyway, and so that was why? Or you always wanted to play with, like, you know, Hiko and Symphosis again from your back-to-back days in 1.6 and stuff? Like, what was that about?
Talk about why I joined.
What will become Complexity? Yeah, right.
I think at one point I wasn't sure. First of all, we knew Volcano was done, and then there's just a disconnect between myself and Swag and AZK and Adren. They really weren't sure what they wanted to do in terms of fifth, and Eric wasn't sure if he wanted to call strats. So things just weren't sure on that side of the bracket. And then on the other side of things, Eskers was a strat caller and an opper. Hiko was a solo site player, and Semphis was like a semi-entry flagger. So it seemed to just match up in terms of just connecting the dots. We had all played together in 1.6 before. It was just more comfortable, I think, on that end, for us to just go straight into that lineup. Because they had a 3 and then we were 2, and it just added up like that. And yeah, at one point, you know, before I joined that team, I was also brainstorming because I wasn't sure, you know, if the Area 51 guys wanted to join up with me in Brax, because, you know, I wasn't sure if they wanted to stick with TCK or Frost. So then we were saying, should we make a team with Dazed at one point? But no, we couldn't find 5 that liked each other in terms of that regard with Dazed, because they had just split up with Area 51 guys, and then they didn't like the Adren guys, which ended up being ironic because they end up being on IEM Power together now, and that's kind of how the CS scene works. But it's all like in the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like people have like really dislike each other personally. It's more of like they don't know well. There's like a semi bad blood between maybe ex teammates, and
it's like spontaneous. Like it's like spontaneous and short-living like grudge that eventually fades away, and then
when you realize there's a limited amount of people to play with.
Right. So it like temporarily causes issues, but then like 6 months, a year down the line, all of a sudden you can see yourself playing with that person again. It seems.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny. That used to happen in 1.6 with like Hostile all the time. He would talk shit to everybody before he joined their team.
Right, so basically we'll just skip straight ahead to the LAN you played that season with Complexity. And basically it was like the North American rivalry because there was Curse, which is what is now mostly God by Power. The only difference really is Days being a part of it now, of course. And it was weird because you guys like traded with them. I mean, you beat all the other North American teams you played against, no problem. But with Curse, you traded. Like in the lower bracket, or the upper bracket, excuse me, you had a game that went into double overtime on Inferno that you guys lost, and you straight up just lost on cash. But then you come back when it really matters in the lower bracket finals, and you beat them 16-2 on Dust 2, then 16-12 on Inferno. So this is the beginning of the North American rivalry that you have now at IEM Power. So can you kind of walk us through like what was this? What happened there between you and Curse at this event? Do you think?
Well, I remember our cash was just like we had just kept changing things. And even I think even right now, we got to the point where between this last LAN and now we've only changed like one thing, but like that's kind of the process you go through to make a map better. So I remember our cache was just kind of all over the place, and we had just lost to them on that, and it just didn't. We made strats like a week before that were new and they worked in scrims, you know, and then on Inferno, I think we just remember not really understanding how it got like so many rounds we blew by rotating wrong. And I think we fixed that when we went to the lower bracket final because we realized they just like to walk B on their T side on Inferno a lot. So we kind of made sure we kept 2B a lot more in that match. And then when they hit A, they mostly wrapped. So we kind of just locked that wrap and B down, I remember. And they just kept running into it, and it worked out easy. And then in the final, obviously, you know, we played Nip.
Right.
And we had to beat him in 2 best-of-3s, go down on Dust 2 pretty quick. That was tough. Then we started out on Nuke T side. What was it, 12-3 or 13-2 first half? 12-3.
12-3.
It's 12-3 first half. We win second half pistol, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we lose the eco round.
Infamous for that.
Lose the eco round. They just, dude, forcing them. They literally just jump on Twinkie outside, jump on mini roof, and just snipe you under ladder. Like, they kill the outside guy and the under ladder guy, like, instantly. It was like, alright. And then, yeah, I kind of had, like, a big double kill on the next eco for us, where we all just saving, and I kind of actually gave up, in a sense, on that round, because it was, like, dumb. We were, like, pissed at ourselves for letting it get to that point. Because we had talked about the eco round, playing spotty outside. So I kind of rotate to ramp, and they're in radio room, and my team's all hiding at ramp. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna run in here and peek. So I literally just run in J Hall and peek, and like right when I peek, Zist pulls out a nade, and I kill him, and then Get Right swings, or not Get Right, someone swings behind him like Fifthler, and I line up him and get a double USP silence kill really quick, and I'm just like, word, and I just like jump away. We get a gun, Get Right chases. We eventually kill him, trade, kill another guy, and we end up winning the round with like 3 guys alive or something. So it was a big eco round, and then we literally said, all right, guys, round by round. Like, you can't really let emotion get to you right then. If you try to like vision what's going on, like you need to win 2 OBO3s, this is the second map, you need to win 13 rounds straight, that shit just deters you. So you like most of the guys on that team have done this before, so I think everyone got in a pretty good mindset to just say, hey, round by round, let's try to come back on the best team in the world.
Right. So this begins the trend that I want to talk about. This is the story I want this cast to go for the rest of the time, is like complexity coming to being an international contender, right? Because I don't know if you realize it, but at this point, you were one of only 3 teams that had ever taken a map off of NIP, like at this particular time in CSGO's history. Because Virtus Pro had done it at a previous event, and then they had done it online a couple of times. They had lost, but like they had that huge map win in a row record, right? Remember, it was like 100 and something maps in a row, or close to 100.
I think it was like 87.
Yeah. So, like, how big was it for you to be able to like to do that? First of all, get that accomplishment of, hey, like somebody can finally take a map off NIP. Like, what did that?
Well, yeah.
do for you guys?
I mean, it was key because as I was telling you earlier, I don't think the gaps for skill to the countries is as big as it was at the end of like 1.6, because things aren't as established for everyone now. Everyone's got a chance to catch up. So I think for us, it was important that we showed everyone that just by beating them on one map, that listen, these guys aren't just gods that are just going to tear through us because we're American. They have better structure, they have better practice, they put in more effort. That's why they're better. If we all step up our game as a community and start harping on smarter things as a community, more so than just who has the most frags, so let's recruit that guy. This starts from the lower levels, you know? So that's why it's important for us to just be like, hey, we won on even just a map, because there's kids out there who literally think, you know, all 5 players on NIP could 1v5 my team. You know, on the forums, people say stupid shit like that. So it's like, it's, you know, it's incredible. And obviously those aren't the main people in the community that support everything, but there is those few percent out there who have just absurd fanboyism across the board, whether it's for us or for the other teams. And what I've been trying to preach, especially to people I give lessons to, is people, you know, when you're coming up in the CS scene, try to build a team and grow with that team rather than just try to hop around teams. But if you must go to a new team, that's fine. If your current team doesn't share your goals or your skills level, but you want to try to focus on just really growing as a teammate versus someone who could just get a lot of kills. Because in Europe, those guys, they focus on the high level stuff more. So the second you start playing with better players, you know what's expected of you. So the skill side of things is just a given. So people need to work on that stuff in their free time. So I know that kind of got spread. I kind of rambled that on beyond, but my whole point is that beating like these European teams is big for our country, because it shows that, you know,
they're not gods.
Well, no, yeah, no one's gods in these games. You could just beat anybody if you just prep right, especially one tourney.
So the next 2 things I don't want to harp on too much, because I did a whole episode with Sean where we kind of talked about it.
Yeah.
And it was ESWC 2013, which of course you guys.
Yeah, screw that. I don't want to talk about that.
Cool. But I do want to talk about DreamHack Winter though, really fast, just really quick. Of course, that was really big for you guys. Of course, you beat Nfaculty, you beat Very Games. That was like the huge thing. The 16-14 crazy fake to A. That winds up winning you guys. And then, of course, you go on to beat the Stein Dragons 2-1 in the quarters, which everybody was like really hyped. So you guys did really well. You take 3rd, 4th. Of course, you lose 2-0 to Fnatic, who winds up winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
So basically this kind of continues this trend of you guys like proving that, hey, we're international contenders. We took a map off NIP on home turf. Now we've come to DreamHack winner. We've taken third, fourth. So what does this event mean for you guys? Like going into ESEA LAN, which we're about to talk about, but just maybe a quick thought from you.
Yeah, no, it was you know, we knew that we had won a majority of those first 2 games that were on Inferno, so we knew our Inferno was hot at the moment. We had, you know, one of those maps where we just felt like we had quick strats, slow strats, good CT side, and if we win pistols, we could beat anyone. So that was obviously something that we tried to play. Yeah, it was good that we beat Astana. I think that was the first like test that we had right there after Very Games, because Very Games was a test, but it's one map. Astana, you know, playing BO3s is always a different story. I was happy that we came back from that unfortunate nuke game where we saw that if we would have won either pistol and just played a little better, could have turned out better. So overall, this tournament was good for us, obviously, because everyone felt like complexity. They have good players. They beat NIP on a map before. Now they come in and they beat 3 European teams. It helps us, just to add to what I was just explaining, that, you know, people aren't gods. Let's change that perception. So not only did it help us, it helped iBuyPower. Even though iBuyPower did bad, you know, a lot of the smart players realized they did bad on one map. So if iBuyPower has the ability to change, which they did in ESEA a little bit, but not almost not enough to stop running around so much, in terms of, you know, they're good when they play on the fly and let things be coordinated quick, as you saw at ESEA. But when they try too hard to just give everyone freedom, but they don't coordinate it properly, they do bad. So they learn from it. So it was good that they learned from it. I wasn't too pissed that, or I wasn't too happy that they got raped. You know, a lot of people are like, yeah, you guys got owned. Isn't that funny that they got beat? I was like, no, like they were practicing a certain way. It didn't work out for them. They're going to learn and get better. We need better teams in the country.
Right.
I was hoping, if anything, they would get out of their group and show that, you know, we prove more. So that there's good. At ESEA LAN, we could just move right into
that. We're about to do that. So let me just introduce it really quick. So basically, my story, like, I haven't got to, like, I talked to Dren from iBuyPower, did episode on that, was the last episode. We talked about Titan's journey through ESEA LAN, and we talked about all the matches. So I just want to specifically focus on your 2 matches, which of course was Titan, right? So Titan, this is a big deal for you guys when you beat him at DreamHack winner on Inferno 16 to, your video froze. We good? Not dropping frames. Are you good? You back?
One sec.
Your video froze for me.
Am I good?
You're good. Okay. So basically, you come off DreamHack winner beating Titan 16-14 on Inferno.
Yeah, close game.
And then Hiko and Simus have had success against them as well.
We smashed them on Inferno again at ESEA.
Right, so that's what I was about to say. Is you smashed one on Inferno, I think it was 16-3. But then you had 2 16-14 losses. So
yeah, that's why I'm
where do you stand against Titan?
God, that LAN pissed me off. It didn't piss me off in a sense. Their match, I think we pissed ourselves off versus iBuyPower. Versus Titans, you know, it's just, as long, I think as they're just as good or better than us on every given day, unless we practice with the same intensity as them. And that's, I think, our biggest challenge versus these guys, is just getting to that intensity level before a tournament and carrying that over into the tournament and playing with that mindset every round. And that's what we were able to do at DreamHack, and that's literally the difference between 16-14, right? We barely beat them there. Imagine we lost one of those pistols, the T pistol or something, and just got fucking shit on T side. That would have been like an 11-4 T side for them, and if we lose CT pistol, that they could have ended that match 16-8 at DreamHack, you know. But we stayed pretty tight when we played, and that sometimes is the biggest difference. So when you saw us at ESEA LAN, we had definitely more discipline than the prior ESEA LAN because, you know, we got that experience from DreamHack. But over the holidays, it gave us time to get into another lull where, you know, we just kind of slipped up. And obviously it doesn't help lagging out. On that Dust 2 match, Sean Gary's lagged out in the CT pistol. If we would have won that pistol, that's another little thing. Would we have won that match 16-10 now? You know? Would we have just took Dust 2 and then raped him on Inferno and then no one would even be talking about, you know, nuke or whatever.
Right.
And it would have been upper bracket final, and then iBuyPower would have had to play Titans. They would have probably been demoralized having to play Titans in the morning.
Right.
Because it's a different competitor versus us. You know, Jesus, you know, we still, I think, should have took that first cash map on them. And, you know, that Skadoodle 1 versus 3 gives them money and momentum. And, you know, that's like literally an amateur level miscommunication. We thought bomb was down checker because Brax was in vent, but bomb was down mid and Brax was spotting checker.
Yep.
So we literally just were sitting a B talking about the next round, and then all of a sudden he plants the bomb. We're like, what the fuck, Brax? We thought he had bomb. Brax gets killed. Says he's low. He's not as low as he thought. I throw nade at him, try to run in and kill him with a pistol. He kills me. We lose 1v3. It was like so bad that it was just like, so these little things. So it's like you either look at the root of where that came from, aka, you know, what if we would have just been in a little bit stronger mental boot camp mode? Would we have just swept him on that map? And someone just even posted right here in the chat, would it be interesting to hear about Jordan's justification about the short push 14 on Dust 2? It is possibly why they're saying they lost the map. That's a great point. That's a great point, you know, because that I was making a lot of smart moves on that CT side in terms of, like, helping long early and then sliding back to mid and then throwing a nade onto the catwalk guys and damaging them, letting them know we know they're on cat, because they were basically taking lower B to Xbox fast every round, and they were taking cat. So this was the Dust 2 game versus Very Games. We probably still should have won even though we lost that pistol. I literally just run the long way to cat instead of getting boosted CT side, and I have a nade out and I run around the cat corner to nade lower, and the guys are just walked up cat close and killing me. And I looked like a fucking retard to everyone on the stream because they're like, obviously he just lost the round. He just runs around the corner with a nade out. But what I had been doing the previous couple rounds is I had been running there either via a boost or running the long way, but I had my teammates spotting mid telling me if they're already in lower. So I got around the corner and just naded lower and fell back. And I did it individually once or twice, and then me and Hiko coordinated one round, and we actually got a nade kill on Shoxy. So I hadn't done that for like 2 or 3 rounds, and I ran back, and I hadn't done it for 2 or 3 rounds, and I knew they were going to come lower B again quick and jump up on Xbox, but I didn't really account for the fact that I had like a deeper spawn and I wasn't getting boosted, so I literally just ran the whole way. I think I even missed the jump up rail onto the site, and it just took me like an extra 2 seconds to get to cat, but by that time they were already up the cat ledge. So when I round the corner, I literally just yelled the F word really loud right away. I'm like, fuck, and I just threw a grenade at the floor and just like threw my headset off because I was like, oh my god, you fucking retard. I knew exactly what they were doing. I just had miscalculated the time while I was thinking about what we were doing later in the round, because I knew Samfist was going to double up B early, then come back and spot mid, so I wanted to make sure I got off cat quick after the nade. So that probably could have blown it there. And that's another great point, that one round and one decision and one miscalculation can cost me, because I knew exactly what they were doing, and I ran into that round not using my head properly, and it could have cost us the match. But obviously I was blaming myself more than anyone after that match, and my teammates were like, you know, you can't blame yourself, it's just one round, one thing. But yeah, those moments you obviously can't help but think about. And you know, Sean said he missed a big shot, and Spencer said, I think Spencer had a fucked up mouse the first day, so he had to switch to a different mouse the second day. So we had all these little things kind of in our head, and we weren't in the right mindset to win. But in my mind, I know we could have easily won that tournament, ESEA, if we were. So our focus right now is for trying to get back into that mindset before we go to Poland in a month.
Right. So 2 quick questions to come out of ESEA LAN. Just quickly answer them so we can get on to like this big, like I have like a list of questions that are going to be really good and people are going to like it, I think. But just quickly, based on the close matches you played against Titan and the wins you've had against them, like I guess you're 2-2 right now if you add the best of 3 set plus DreamHack winner. Where do you stand against this team? Do you think you're better than them, or do you think
Titans?
Yeah, like where do you stand against this team now?
I think it should be like 60-40 in their favor at least.
Okay, so also another question: where does Titan stand now? Of course, they're just moving into a gaming house. They just got a huge sponsor. Do you think that their loss to iBuyPower and their close games against you takes anything away from them as a team? Like maybe maybe not motivation wise, but maybe like morale wise, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, I think if anything, if they are the type of competitors I think they are, it's just going to piss them off and make them work harder. Because those guys are obviously in it to compete. They're not just like, as if we do good, we're going to play the next tournament, we play it by ear. They're trying to win no matter what. Just like the Polish guys were, which is why I said I like them. Because when the Polish guys, they might get last in a tournament, Neo and them are going to work twice as hard as the team that won that last tournament, you know? Just because that's the type of people they are. And I think the Titan kids are the same way. I shouldn't call them kids. Titan guys are the same way. Because, yeah, I could tell that doesn't take anything away from them. I think in our minds, in our mindset, it adds now to our value. Now when we play them, we're in their heads, iBuyPower's in their heads. They don't think they could win as easily, so that benefits us very minutely, but it does benefit us. Anytime you beat someone, it adds to the value,
Right.
you know? So there's that, and then obviously, yeah, just to answer your question there.
Right. So So the other big thing is, what does iBuyPower's win do for North American CSGO, for one? And for two, I want to bring up a comment that lurppis made in an interview with Thorin, because I want your take on it. And I don't want to like I'm not trying to, you know, shots fired or anything. But basically, lurppis stated that it didn't mean much that iBuyPower would be Titan, and that he basically was highlighting like examples of why, and his points were, you know, it's on American soil, Titan just comes off a big break, blah 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 blah. My point is that,
well, yeah,
based on how iBuyPower did at DreamHack Winter, and based on ESEA LAN how they did, how much does that really matter, like, for iBuyPower as a team, like from an outside perspective? How much stock does that really add to that team, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
Well, I guess it depends from what point of view you're looking at it. From a fan and spectator point of view, it adds probably more than on the pro echelon level, because in terms of all the pros, we are going to look at it similar. We're going to look at similar factors that lurppis looked at. There was a break in between the tournaments. Sorry, I was reading a comment here. There's a break in between the tournament. They had that lull. It was on American soil. There's a couple of things like that, and you could even tell that they just didn't feel like they played their best CS, and they gave it up to iBuyPower for winning. So either way, it helps iBuyPower's stock for themselves psychologically, because now when they play Titans knows they have to play their best game to beat iBuyPower. So now iBuyPower, it's a little bit easier for them to kind of come in with the right expectations and right mindset, because now they're like, okay, these guys are going full force versus us, we need to go full force versus them, and they're going to have a different respect. So it helps. Right. But it's obviously Titans isn't over in the other corner like, fuck, man, like, what did we do wrong? They know exactly what they did wrong. They didn't bring their A game, you know? They didn't bring their A game. And your A game sometimes doesn't have a definition. It's not always, hey, why don't you flash this or hit this shot or go there. It's just a whole intensity level that sometimes teams don't bring for whatever reason. Maybe they assume they're going to win or whatnot, but yeah.
So another big point I want to talk about is being able to replicate, right? So a lot of people made a big point about DreamHack Winter, can Fnatic replicate? A lot of people made the same point about you guys at the DreamHack Winter, can Complexity replicate? Now a lot of people are going to wonder, can iBuyPower replicate? Do you think you guys can keep replicating, and do you think
it's on a tournament-to-tournament basis more now than it ever has been, because it's just up to these teams that are staying up to date with all the fads and all the little happenings with strategy. So I think it's just how much these teams want it. If they just scrim and expect that their skill from the last tournament's going to stick with them, then they're not going to get it. Fnatic has a bunch of great players, but they need to realize what won them DreamHack. You know, JW made a lot of plays that any top player at that tournament could have executed, but the timings that he did them and the way that he executed some of his mid pushes on train, some of him walking out mid doors and B doors on Dust 2. People don't do that versus NIP every day, so you can't count on winning versus NIP the same way if you're Fnatic. So they're going to have to stay on top of their strategy.
But what do you think the potential is that you guys can keep replicating good results, even though I guess
it's the same type of answer.
Okay.
It's like, you know, we need to look at what's going wrong. We need to look at the stale parts of our strategy. For instance, on Dust 2 at this last LAN versus Titans, we realized pretty quick that they were reading into what we were doing on CT side, and it kind of dawned on us that a lot of these teams that kind of cut corners in terms of like Europeans, they don't run a slow default, they'll just sometimes get up cat quick. Those teams could really fuck us over because they know where we are at the beginning of the round. So we need to make sure that we have a little bit more dynamic setup, so things might look similar to them, but they don't know exactly what we're doing.
So let's transition this to IEM. First of all, I don't even know for sure if you guys are going. I know you've been invited. Can you reflect on that, or do you not want to say anything? I understand completely if you don't.
Well, as of now, we are going.
Okay, cool.
We're going to prepare for it.
I know it's like a gray area at
we
first,
don't know how much, if we're going to have a boot camp, if it's going to be a week, if it's going to be 2 days early. We might just fly in early. I'm in school right now, so...
So what's preparation like for this event? How do you feel you stand going into it?
I feel we have a nice top 4 chance again if we bring a good game.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like everything I've been saying. Like,
Yeah.
we really gotta come together. Because even if we're nuts, like NIP has shown, they really needed to keep talking about things. Because if the second people start making assumptions about a CT side playstyle, maybe they start doing something a little bit differently, you literally could lose a whole tournament because of that.
So my question would be: is some people have said, or some people feel that maybe your team is plateaued? Is that true, or do you think you can rise higher?
Well, people, what kind of metrics are these people using, right? If people are looking from tournament to tournament, so we plateaued probably at ESEA because of the holiday, right? So that's coming back to like lurppis bringing up those points about Titans. We use the same excuse,
right?
In terms of we weren't boot camping, we weren't preparing for anything until the prior couple weeks before ESEA. So before Poland, if we could really identify our weak points, that's what you do from tournament to tournament, because every tournament they change. Sometimes you're going to hit a certain shot, sometimes you won't.
Right.
There's certain things that change and stay the same, such as playing spots. Sometimes just changing a spot can make us one half a little more fresh because now people have a different comfort zone, etc.
Right. So let's go to some rapid fire questions really quick, and then I'll maybe open up to a little bit of viewer questions, but then we'll be going. But,
rapid fire, let's do it.
All right, rapid fire. How do you compare your sex?
Well,
how do you
continue?
No. How do you compare your success in the past to your success now? Like your past being 1.6 to how well you've done in Go. Is it comparable or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's comparable because I didn't at 1.6. The time I came in, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of where I should have won a tournament. Like we won MSI, beat it. We were in a really good form with Edis again. I got my knife again. I'm trying to move quick. Yeah, so I was only on a team for a couple times where we actually deserved to potentially win an event. Like my whole 2008 team, my whole 2009 team, my 2008 team was a new steno team. My 2009 team hadn't played CS 1.6 in 2 years. So I would say it's similar so far because the only thing I won was MSI, and yeah.
So do you feel maybe you're maybe more successful in Go so far, internationally speaking?
Well, no, I haven't won an event yet, but
okay.
I had gotten top 3 at top 5. Okay. I'll say top 5 at 21.6 events. That adds up to a little bit more.
Gotcha. So, transitioning to that, what do you feel your motivation level is right now to play this game and actually be good at it and be serious and stuff? Like I know before maybe some people complained that you weren't as motivated. How is your motivation right now?
Well, I'm definitely not as motivated as when I was coming into 1.6 as a pro because anytime something's a novelty to you, you're always a little bit more naturally inspired, right? So it's like Counter-Strike, when it was new to me, it was like, how good can I become at this game? What level can I get to? So I wanted to get to the international level and see how good I could play against all these people. Now I have a completely different viewpoint on it. So for me, my motivation changes because now I need to look at other factors as a job and life and time, cost versus benefit, just like how much am I spending to play. The hardest part for me is that I love the people and all the community. So if I hadn't made any reputation and I was just another player, it'd be easier for me to just stop playing if I felt like it. But right now I have 2 things driving me. 1, I still like competing, and 2, I feel like I don't really owe it to the community, but in a sense, I feel like it's part of what I enjoy doing. I like giving back to the community, and I wish it was bigger. I wish I could, do some larger things, and that's what streaming's for. So that's been a debate for me lately: is do I want to just hang out and stream all day and quit school?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so did you watch podcast at all with Derek and Spencer?
I didn't watch the recent one. I've watched a lot of those, though.
Okay, well, basically there was an NACS edition show, which is really cool because it happened right before this show. There's a couple of comments that Thorin made that I wanted you to respond to because
I love Thorin comments.
Yeah, Thorin comments are good. So there's 2 main Thorin comments that I want to bring up, and this is not to take shots at Thorin. I actually already messaged him on Skype and was like, hey, don't take this personally. But anyway, he doesn't care. Thorin made the comment that North America needs a superstar in order to compete at an international level and consistently be good. Basically, was I'm kind of paraphrasing it. And then he also said that n0thing can fit that role when he's at his peak, aka you. And he was basically saying that, you know, you're like the X factor apparently in his eyes. So my question to you would be: is do you really think that you're the key factor that determines your team's success, or do you think people are putting too much weight on how much like you have to contribute for your team to be successful?
Well, no, I think that just comes with any time you're considered someone who frags for a team, right? Our team's success, obviously, at this level is dependent on all of us being in that intensity level, aka just what happened at ESEA LAN. I had some great games. I felt like I was playing pretty good versus Titans, but I fucked up a few small rounds. Is that why we lost? That's up for people to decide. I don't think one player makes or breaks a team, but I know what you mean by the X factor. I do think, obviously, the more kills I'm getting, it helps my team. But
like, do you feel like you make or break whether or not your team succeeds? Like, does it really all ride on how well you perform?
No, I don't think. I think I do need. I think we all need to perform our best, though, right? And in order to gain the way, like, I'm an entry fragger. I think me and Semphis need to perform well a lot.
Right.
Hiko needs to perform well a lot. Swag is someone who, surprisingly, when he performs well, we normally win pretty easily because he actually has this lurker role, which he has so much talent to do any role, but he's good at this lurker role. So I don't know. When I'm playing really well, it helps. But I'm also kind of like a sporadic decision maker. Like on terrorist sides, if Sean gives me the freedom on like an Inferno, sometimes I'll walk up and I'll just pick and wrap A by myself and try to kill that motor guy, and all of a sudden I'll end up in CT spawner library and my team's
or you'll throw around by running through a smoke on nuke and lose to.
Oh my god. Well, I didn't have freedom right there. I had no freedom on nuke. He was just saying spot out ramp, and somehow that made Semphis come with me with the bomb. I still don't support that decision, but it was dumb of me, real dumb, because they just said 2 ramp, and my teammate was like spotting out upper. So at the worst, we could have just baited with one guy in ramp hall and just walked out hut, and it would have been fine. And we knew that. I just didn't hear what he was meant. I thought he was clearing huts. I didn't think it was clear yet, and I ran out the fucking ramp.
Yeah.
Those dumb decisions.
Well, I didn't mean to make that a big deal. But the second comment that Thorin.
That's another one of those rounds though, where if we didn't lose that eco round, we probably would have beat iBuyPower because it would have been 12-5 going into 13-5, right? Yeah. Because that was It
was 11-5 that made it
11-5 after pistol, and we had T-side nuke, and our T-side's not that bad. And then when the second we let them get those snipers and start picking apart our default, we just fell apart.
Right. So the next comment that Thorin made that I wanted to bring out is that, I'm paraphrasing again, I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but essentially the point he tried to make was that Hiko didn't deserve to be in the top 20 players on HLTV. And the point I think he was trying to make was that this goes back to the whole superstar thing. He felt that there was really no North American player that deserved to be like considered a top player in CSGO, internationally speaking. So with this being said, take that statement.
And I guess because we didn't play
right.
As many
so
events,
so with that being said, do you think that's off base for one? And then for two, do you feel there's some type of skill gap between top North American players like your team and iBuyPower and the top Europeans? If there is a skill gap, how big is it?
Well, I think it's a little off base because Jesus Christ. Okay, my screen froze. Well, because when you're trying to compare, because the first part he said was there's no superstar that deserves to be in the top 20. That was his first general statement from America.
Basically, he said Hiko wasn't really the 9th best player in the game. Like,
I don't know. When I remember looking at that list, I didn't even think some of those Europeans should have been there that were there. So I guess to answer your question altogether, I know what Thorin means, but I think it's only the reason that way because we haven't played as many tournaments yet. I think that applied more to 1.6 because there was so much more of an established echelon in Europe. But I think right now, even the Europeans themselves aren't quite sure what the Americans have to offer each event, you know? So, like, I think, you know, the only way we could tell is if we keep showing up to events and keep proving it. At different points, Semphis and Swag have had top 20 performances. I have. Sean's had big op rounds where you could say, hey, is he one of the best oppers? Because he hits in the amount of tournaments he's played versus the amount of kills he's got with that gun versus that. Like, you can make all these random points, but I don't know. I think Hiko out of those top 20 players, Hiko can definitely outplay most of those guys. Right. So I think putting them there is not politically incorrect.
So here would be my next question. Then I realize that North America doesn't have as much depth, like in talent, as Europe does, like as a whole. I mean, if you compare North America to specific countries,
well,
it
yeah,
might be a bit different.
it has to do with everything.
Right.
I always compare it to like pro surfing in California versus New York or something.
But my point is also this then is like, okay, so let's forget depth, right? Let's just merely focus on like what we know. And what we know is that your team and I by Power are the two best team. Let's forget the depth thing, like the talent pool. Let's just focus strictly on your team and I by Power. Let's just use that as a sample, right? So those 10 players. If you compare those 10 players to like what would be considered the best 10 like players in Europe or something, or like the top players in Europe or whatever. So like Nip, Titan, whatever. Is there a skill gap there, or do you feel y'all are just as talented as they are?
I mean, I guess this is dealing with my pride a little bit, my ability to drop that right now. I guess I would say I have to give it to them. There's a reason that they are considered better, and that is, there's some truth to the whole thought that Europeans are better, only because that is just where it's facilitated. Most of the esports competition is there, so I think potential-wise, no, they're not really. I think we could outskill them, give or take the day, but in like right now, I would say the 10 best European players are better than the 10 best American, probably in 6 out of 10 regards, at least. Out of like maybe there's like 4 people, like, because I think some of my teammates and a couple guys on iBuyPower for sure can outskill people at their respective roles. And I don't want to be all specific about it right now, just because.
That's fine.
But anyways, I'm just skill. First of all, just general finesse isn't the only thing that like you said. Like there's people on my team. I think, people talk about Fifflerin, for instance, on NIP. I know there's a lot of players who finesse-wise and skill-wise could do and execute things better than he could.
Right.
But he does what he does in a certain manner, and also with a certain awareness.
Right.
That it helps him be a very good player who contributes in a certain way.
Right.
So
leave it at that.
Yeah, I think so. I could just keep rambling because I think
I had a couple more questions.
I think the second you throw us into their environment more, I think we rise to the occasion, and I think I've shown time and time again, my problem has never been able to outskill them, and I have teammates on my team that could outskill me sometimes. So that just goes to show you, like, I've never had a problem like playing Get Right and Force 1.6. They were insane, but I beat them more than they beat me.
Okay.
Same with SK guys. Even though I didn't win nearly as much as those at Fnatic guys, we beat them more than they beat us. But no one would ever sit there on a forum and say Get Right and Force less than nothing and D-Born, whoever's on my last team that we beat them with. But we beat them like 7 out of 10 times. I beat Fnatic in best of 3s or whatever it was, and in 1.6. But no way that we were actually better than them. But I outperformed Forrest and Get Right 7 times or whatever, So am I better than them? It's not necessarily it's a lot of times it's situational.
Right.
And I just know that the Americans aren't that far behind. If we had we are also one country pinned up against the whole continent, but if we had just more of a infrastructure set up, more players, more tournaments, I think you would see less of a gap. But there is one. There is definitely a gap. I'm not going to lie, but as you've seen, we can beat them.
So 2 more things that come from this podcast really quick that I want you to comment on is one comes from Karn actually, and he was talking about this whole thing, like I'm just trying to explain it the best I can, is like you guys go to boot camp in Europe, right, because you feel like you don't get the right preparation against North American teams because they like scrim you or whatever, right? And so you feel like you have to kind of get used to that Euro style by like boot camping against European teams. That way you can kind of get your feet wet with that.
And we could even improve on that here.
Right.
If teams were just more willing to schedule scrims and play out, that would already improve our practice.
But what Karn suggested actually is that maybe the North American style is actually like, can North America form their own style? Do you guys have to mock Europeans basically? Because I think the point he tried to make is like maybe what makes you guys successful against Titan or something might just be that you have your own style. So basically what Karn was saying is can, instead of like trying to like boot camp against European teams and kind of like mock their style, so to speak. Because I remember Sean mentioned that he kind of.
It's not even about the style; it's the intensity. It's the way they play the game. So like that's what I would have said to Patrick right then if he had brought that up to me. Is I actually agree with him because in Counter-Strike, just as right, when you go play a matchmake, if you're playing against some noob, you might be able to outsmart him so much so, but if he just stands in that fucking corner and you eventually come around that corner, you're still running into the noob and he still might kill you, right? So it's like, when you're making all these strategies, when we're playing a team like Titans, to a certain extent, we have to understand the way they play so we know where their intention lies, right? So when we're creating our strategies, a lot of times we ebb and flow with the other top European teams just as they ebb and flow with us. Because the way things get created is everyone watches each other.
Right.
So you watch each other, you create something. You watch each other, you manifest something new. So for us, I don't think we're ever really trying to copy it. I think when we boot camp, it's just bringing us to that intensity level. People make us pay for different mistakes when we scrim. When we're scrimming in America, the reason I think we use it as an excuse sometimes is everyone starts to know each other so much that there's this bad habit of just trying to win the scrim. Like, people forget that it's not about winning the scrim, it's about how you win the scrim.
Right.
I don't care about winning a fucking 1 versus 4 in a scrim. I'll type kill in console if it gets down to 1 versus 4, because I just don't care to win the round. We lost the strat, right? So it's like, in certain scrimmages in Europe, you could tell once they have lost a round and it's a 1-on-5 or something, that guy's not always going to just fucking try to win the 1-on-5. He might just run out with his knife out and die just on purpose, just to move on to the next round and stay focused on their strategy.
Right.
Because that's literally what they're playing for. And I feel like a lot of people here literally look at their ESEA stats, like after every scrim. And I don't look at any of my stats unless it's like a match where I feel there's close and I just wanted to see what's going on. But I just feel like there's just a different mentality in practice over there. So it's kind of that. So when if I were to talk to Patrick right there about boot camping, I'd tell him, well, yeah, like, I understand we should have our own style because that's what makes it harder for people to counter us. And we kind of do have our own style, but at the same token, our style is, what it's a famous quote. We can't be the cup, we got to be the water, right? We got to mold to whatever's around us.
Right.
The Bruce Lee quote. Be the water and fill the cup. So it's kind of that stupid idea, right? You don't, like, it's obviously you want to have a structure, but if we just have a distinct style, I think it eventually bites you in the ass. Like Fnatic at 1.6, it's funny. They had a distinct style, and it won them a lot with INS and DSM, but it eventually bit them in the ass because everyone knew. And to be honest, it didn't really bite them in the ass as much as it would bit Moat Team in the ass because those guys were so good at running it. But you know how they just ran their default a lot on Fnatic? You remember how they would just, on 1.6, I don't know how much you watched. It would basically be like, on, say, Inferno, they would do, like, Forest and one guy bottom of mid and someone bottom of B and one guy halls, and they would kind of eventually work up, and they would find out where the numbers were heavy on the other team, and then they would isolate, like, the one guy, like, rap side. They would kill him, and then they'd just rap quick on A. So they had these very simple, number-heavy work strats on their T side. So that worked very well for them and eventually became stale, and they realized that, they were better at playing like tight matches because teams didn't know what they were doing, versus when they were playing group play, teams would just literally counter what they were doing with a lot of confidence, and it would work against them. And Karn was luckily such a good strat caller, and they had insane players in Forrest and Gerite and stuff eventually, that they just kept adding onto that style, and they did it perfectly. But if we were to try to do that in America, similar to how Steno always tried to get our teams to play, we always tried to play like Fnatic or something. And I think the mistake there is we didn't realize the variables there. How much input did Forrest have, even though he's not the strat caller, once he heard something happen mid. In our versions, a lot of times it was just Steno trying to be the chess master here and control the pieces. Whereas when you have a team like Fnatic's, Karn would control everything, that's for sure. He would definitely control everything. But he gave someone like Forrest the ability to have very good communication and dictate the flow of the round, So it's like, that's the difference there. They had Forrest, who's not a strat caller, but he has just as much ability to shape the round as Karn by saying, hey, one guy fell back archway, someone's falling back into the site, I'm going to take here. And the second he does that, there's a series of things that are going to happen, right? The rest of the team knows how to respond, and that's where teams become really good. So for us developing our strategy going into Poland as we go into the future, we need to make it so it kind of works like that. But CSGO has a little bit of a difference to it.
Right.
You can't count on trades happening as easily in this game because lineups happen all the time. So you kind of need a little bit more smokes in this game since they create walls. You need a couple more key flashes, but so that's what we need to stay on top of. If we're not on top of that shit, we're gonna get walked up on. We're gonna risks are going to be taken versus us, and we're not going to be ready for them. So.
Right. So I have 3 more questions, and I'm going to let you say what you want to say as far as like shoutouts and stuff like that, because I know it's been a little bit. But my first quick question is also coming from the podcast. There was a discussion about what we need to do about tournament rules and maps being used, because there's like so much of a variance between like what version of which map gets used at one tournament versus the next, and you know, like rules of how the group play works and this and that. So my question would be is, do you see that problem too, which you probably do, and what's the solution if there is one?
Okay, say this problem again.
Like, you know, different tournaments are using different versions of Train or different versions of Mirage, or some tournaments are using Cash, some aren't, some are using Season, some aren't. Tuscan's around the corner. You know, what do we do about, like, I guess...
I think Valve is going to use, or I think ESEA is going to use Valve's maps, right, next season?
I have no idea. See, I'm confused about Mirage, because Mirage, obviously everybody wants to use not the Valve version, but Valve's sponsoring these tournaments and they want to use theirs.
We are going to, I think, for the next ESEA season.
Right.
So I think there should be uniformity throughout the top tournaments, but I would also like to see the old Mirage played in that specific case. I don't like the Valve Mirage is too loosely. The boxes and shit is too loosely placed. A-bomb site is too open. You could just get retook on very easily. So, anyways.
So you think there needs to be uniformity. So what's the solution then? Just like, should we have some type of committee or like conference that like we have representatives from like all the different tournaments to be like, hey, this is how we're going to run our tournaments across the board? Or like, what do you think? That's what I think should happen personally, just so we can have like people don't have, because this sucks, right? You had to prep for one version of Train for the Train.
What were you saying?
Like you have to prep for one version of Train one time and then another version of Train.
Oh yeah, DreamHack was kind of a mess in that sense.
So does that mean that we need to have? Does that mean we need to have like maybe some type of conference across the board and like or something
like a G7 summit?
This something to be like, hey, let's all get on the same page on how we want to run these tournaments, so teams don't have to struggle.
I mean, if people want to get Valve to do that, Valve is hosting the tournaments with their maps. That's their tournament, their map, their product. Right. So we either do what they want or we somehow convince them of some kind of compromise. I'm up for either. I'm up for both.
But what does it say about custom maps like Tuscan and stuff that aren't Valve maps? Like, Cash isn't being used, for instance, at IEM. It's not a Valve map.
Valve Cash isn't being used? Yeah, of course not. Only Valve maps.
Do they need to suck it up and start allowing some custom maps into their tournaments that aren't theirs?
They can just I mean, they're just redesigning them, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't think there should be more than 6 maps in the pool. Right. 7 starts getting a little obnoxious. 7's not bad for that second BO3, so then you have, if you don't want to play the same maps over, you can play other maps and eliminate one, but more than 6 maps gets a little absurd, so I wouldn't mind, like, Cash is not bad. I don't really like Season. I would rather see, like, Cash or Mirage and Tuscan or something, Mirage and Middle. So I think that's much more spread out.
Okay, so next question, I'm just going to kind of combine this onto one question really quick. Basically, everybody always talks about what still needs to be changed to CSGO, and everybody has their own opinion. There's mixed ideas about the movement, about the recoil, about the op scope, about the auto sniper power. So if it were up to you, what do you think still needs to be changed? Jesus,
I would have to really think about a lot. No, I'm kidding. There's actually not as much. People think I'm always going to ramble in this part.
I'm going to let you say whatever you want. Like, what do we need to change
Well,
in
I'm going to keep it pretty short today, because I've said a lot before. I think the guns should stop flying away when you die. That's like an easy thing, right? Yeah. I think that shit annoys me. Anytime a grenade blows up and a gun flies 100 feet away, it's kind of realistic, but also kind of annoying when you get a big kill on an eco round, say in ramp room, and all of a sudden the guy's AK flies back into radio room and negates everything that you just did. I mean, not completely, you got the kill, but that sucks. I don't know, something about the size of like Middle on Inferno. I feel like they can make like the width of some of the areas on maps bigger, like Inferno and Banana. They might be able to just like one hypothetical foot wider on Middle and Banana or something. Like in the halls they already made a little wider, which is better. So, and the map to model size ratio I think can be changed in some areas. That would obviously have to go specifics, but the scope thing I don't really mind with the op. The blur, I think it'd be cool if it only did the blur and it didn't bounce.
Right.
It would make it easier to line up the moving shots, because you're obviously taking a recoil You're taking a recoil effect anyways if you're moving while you're shooting. So most pros, we just know we could feel when we stopped or not. So I feel like that's an added unnecessary skill element. The shake of the scope.
Right.
The blur is enough. And then with the bunny hop, I think they should make it so there's less of a penalty when you land. But they should slow down the like. They shouldn't be like a penalty like it stuns you. But after the second bunny hop, if they like took the excel away somehow, like so it lessened, because I think bunny hopping is good if you do it the right way, but I hate how like sometimes you can bunny hop and sometimes you can't based on how you hit it. I think it should just gradually slow you down if you're not bunny hopping correctly. And then radar is pretty good. I like radar. I don't know what else.
The auto sniper was the other big thing people are talking about.
Oh, maybe making the auto sniper a little more expensive.
Okay.
Let's see. The deagle, obviously. The deagle, I think, is just... I think it's a little obnoxious how it's just, like, after 3 bullets, it's done. For all of you guys out there, if you want to undershoot the deagle, 1, 2, 3. No faster. You can go as slow as you want. After 3 bullets, you're fucked. So I think that's kind of dumb. I think you should be able to shoot it slow, all 7, and be semi-batched bullets. It's like you're using a freaking jumping para after like 3 bullets. The bullets just go nowhere.
Right.
And then the fuse kit is fine. Someone else said physics, FPS, netcode. The peeker's advantage, I don't really understand how they could change it. You know, like to me, in my mind, it's just a command and they would set it to 0, right? But obviously it's more complicated in the back end to them. So I don't understand fully why it still feels sometimes like you're gliding a little bit. It's just the game. It's the engine itself.
Right. So I guess last question, like full question, then I'm just going to mention something that you might be involved in, so I kind of want to mention it, is that, let's see what I was going to say here, is what, like, CSGO is obviously growing, we have more tournaments, what do you think the next step we have to take to make sure that CSGO keeps growing, so to speak?
Next step to help CS keep growing? Just the people from these events that are organizing events, trying to make stuff for all levels, so it's not just the top pros have something to play for, but everyone has something to play for. So ESEA is obviously the only people I see almost in the world doing it like they do, with 5 divisions and the consistent prize pot. Does EMS do that, or ESL, or I don't know. All I know is like the more we could have, the more that you can give something to do or talk about or schedule, because the skins are awesome. But imagine what if there was like a weekly online tournament for matchmaking ranks, and it's like, hey, this rank through this rank can compete in the tournament. It cuts off at this rank or whatever. Obviously that might be a little difficult because pros sometimes have shitty ranks because they don't play a lot. But you see, my point is you can maybe make these like online tournaments, and then if you won the tournament, your whole team would get $20 Steam credit each or something, you know.
Right.
So you get $100 Steam credit. So now they could buy it. So it's not like a huge tournament. It doesn't take more than a day, if anything, half a day, and you guys get the ability to buy some stuff on Steam or something like that. So I think the community managers of the respective tournaments and communities can just slowly build more for all levels, and it'll just come together. If it's meant to be, it'll come together. If it's not, then it'll fade away.
All right. So last thing I wanted to mention before I let you talk about, because of course you just released a new website, you're streaming sometimes, you got all this other stuff. I want to give you the opportunity to talk to everybody about that's here right now. But first, I want to kind of give a shout out to somebody else in the community really fast, or a couple different things. And I think you might or might not be involved. I don't know. So I'm gonna if you want to comment on it, that's up to you. But a fellow commentator and good friend of mine named Jimmy Whisenhunt is about to be involved in a grassroots North American LAN called SoCAL Revival. There's also the Fragdelphia in March that Sasquatch is running in Philadelphia. So you're starting to see grassroots tournaments. Tampa Esports has done some. Of course, you still have ETS. There's apparently, I think I heard Nickerfu from Astro Gaming, he works with them. They're talking about doing a NorCAL LAN eventually as well. So first of all, shout out to Jimmy Whisenhunt. If you don't already know who that is, which I can't believe you don't, if you don't, twitch.tv/Whisenhunt. Of course, this tournament's being run by Reliable Gaming Network, I guess, in collaboration with some other people. It's going to be streamed on Whisenhunt's channel, so please go over there and follow him and watch it. It's this weekend. It's February 8th, this Saturday. I think it starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely go check that out. Are you going to be there? I don't think you're on a team anymore, but are you involved in that at all?
I've been trying to figure out if this one, my buddy's team, wants me to play with them or not. I mean, they want me to play with them, but if their fifth can't go, and then if I don't play, there's still a chance that I might drive out for like half the day and do some guest commentating with Jimmy.
Right.
But not 100%.
Right. So, final question I always ask before I let you do your thing is, who do you think is top in CSGO right now? Because we had DreamHack, which kind of like made things weird for Titan and Nip, because Titan seemed to be on the rise because they were beating Nip finally, but then they kind of dipped back down maybe. Nip, of course, lost the event to Fnatic. You got all kinds of stuff happening. Rosters are changing. Who can we safely say are still like top in the world at this point?
Well, I think Nip, no matter what, people know what Nip is up to. You know, they're practicing, they're in their house, they're doing things. So unless, you know, they just stop caring, one of their guys gets unmotivated, I don't think anything's going to deter them from staying at a high level in relation to where everyone else is at. So even Titans just recently said this in an interview, like, don't overlook Nip yet, you know, until they have a little bit more in them before you see any changes. You know, like, people thought they might remove Fiffler or then Freeberg or something, but they're sticking with it, and I think we'll have a better, you know, idea of how Nip's going to do the rest of the year after EMS, because they're obviously going to try to get in the zone for that.
Right on. So now I want to open this up to you to talk about your stuff. Obviously, you stream. Obviously, you just launched a new website, n0thing.tv. For those of you who don't know about it already, I'll post a link in chat to make it easy for people. That's his new website, which I guess all the links to all your stuff is just collaborated in that one space. So that probably makes it pretty easy.
I'm working on the website. So yeah, n0thing TV was launched just for me to like have a place to write like a blog post easy, and to have people book lessons if they don't know where to go and they just want to come in and book, and then to start adding updates eventually. I don't really have it set up for a big media section yet, but since I've been streaming more, I have a stream tab on there. I wanted to maybe tie in like maybe more YouTube videos. So that's all up to motivation, right? Like, I think it'd be cool for me to not have to get a job while I'm in school. I'm in school for another at least 2.5, 3 years, and I would love to be able to like stream and give lessons, but also make it all tie in together. So that's kind of that's what I'm starting with here. I got a website built, but eventually, can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, totally, dude.
My Skype just lagged.
Yeah, you're fine, I think. You should be fine.
Okay, so I'm just trying to like gauge, you know, what level I could bring things to, because ideally what I would like to do is I would like to somehow tie in lessons, me competing and helping people, into like something for each week. So as I stream, as I do something, everything can be like a show, kind of like how Day 9 does it, except Day 9's on a whole different level.
Right.
I would like to bring something into that. Maybe not a whole talk show or something like you do. You have this talk show and stuff, and so that's why I like to come on here and support you, because you're trying to help the community. So yeah, so it's like I kind of aspire to be you in a sense, in the outside of the game sense. I need to step up my game a little bit, but it's also like I'm trying to gauge it right now to make sure how much I could bring to the fans. Because what I've done in the past is I've told people I'm going to do stuff, and I've only partly done it. Maybe I've started doing blogs, and then I do it for like a week, and then I do stream, and then I stream for a month and stop. So lately I've just been trying to really sort out my stance on everything. And yeah, you guys could find me on facebook.com/Jordan0thing Gilbert. I post a lot on my Facebook page, like updates or when I'm streaming.
Speaking of streaming, where is that headed, do you think? You said you're kind of don't know. I know people really love your stream and you get lots of views, and it seemed like it's going decent for you, but I mean, it is a viable career option if you don't realize it. So I'm just curious if you're willing to take that plunge. Maybe you're kind of hinting at it.
Well, that's the difficult part. Is obviously from a lot of people's point of view, is like, why not? It's like really easy, like just go do it. But it becomes one of those things when you've done it for so long. For me to like have practice, then do schoolwork, and then stream all day, it like mentally it might just take a toll on me if I'm indoors, all day and I
Right.
don't get to go outside. Then literally I'm just gonna end up not being as happy. So what I'm trying to do is find a balance of putting in this work because you're right. I see, even Summit wasn't even a pro and came in and built this following just by being consistent.
But it's
You
also
know?
about other games on that front, to be honest.
Well, obviously, yeah, no, he had DayZ, right?
Mhm.
I'm just talking about streaming in general.
Right, right,
It's really
right.
just about consistency.
Yeah,
So obviously,
exactly.
Jared built up a community because he had the organic placement in the War Z DayZ world. So yeah, that's cool and all. So my goal would be like to naturally make it something fun. Jared has that lifestyle because he likes doing that. He has his wife, he lives at home, he has a good time playing games, so people like to watch him. I wouldn't have a good time playing CS pickup games for 8 hours in a row,
Mhm.
Like, I would drive myself crazy. It'd be fun for like one day, but if I would do that every day, I'd be like, all right, we need to switch this up. At least go to like a Warcraft 3 mod server or some
Yeah.
stupid shit, or go play Team Fortress 2 for an hour or something. So that's what I need to start doing, I think, on my stream is just bring in some other games and
Yeah,
have
definitely.
fun.
You're entertaining. Just be entertaining. It doesn't take much.
Well, yeah, I have fun hanging out with people, but some people
Right.
get annoyed. Like if I'm just sitting there entertaining the whole time, other people come on and be like, "Why aren't you playing?"
And then you bash me on your freestyles, and you're just
And
a
I bash
jerk.
you on your freestyles. The bigger the bowl, the harder you ball.
And then
But,
you wrapped the whole freestyle about me, you jerk.
Yeah,
It was really
I don't
mean.
Was it
not
mean?
good. No, not really. Just poking fun.
And inebriated, I'm not sure.
Gotcha. Anyway, so any shouts like that? I know that you probably want to take a break maybe before you start practicing with your team, but any shout outs you
Yeah.
have before you leave?
Well, shout outs to everyone who has tuned in my stream. All those guys out there who are giving me love in the chat right now. Appreciate you guys doing that, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys do have suggestions for the stream, I always read my email and my Twitch and my Facebook messages.
Right.
So I do hear them. If you guys think you have a good idea or want to lay out an idea for me, it's good. I hear a lot of good ideas. I just got to commit to it. So thanks for all you guys for giving me feedback on that. Thanks for Complexity. Obviously, my sponsor, ComplexityGaming.com. Go check them out. We're sponsored by Sound Blaster, CyberPower PC, Newegg, Creative, Twitch, Elite Gaming Motherboards, DX Racer, the chair I'm rocking right here. You can't really see the name, and Scuff for Xbox controllers. So that's been great for them to support me. So shout outs to you as well, the hype, Dust Moret, guys. Toss this man a follow. Tune in some more. We're all going to be giving love back to the community so we can all support each other. Flashbang dance. Look at everyone's asking me for a flashbang
I mean,
dance.
you can if you feel the desire.
Flashbang dance?
I don't know if the music will come through your mic, but
I don't think it will either. You're going to have to play.
yeah, play it. What's the song? Just link me really fast.
Suckfest 9001.
Suckfest?
9001.
Suckfest 9001.
That's a joke from Deadmau5.
Alright, I'm about to play it. You can just put the stream up.
Love. You need to bump that up a little.
I need to bump it up a little.
But how loud is it on stream?
It's pretty loud. On stream, it's definitely loud.
There we go. When is it dropping? I need to hear it a little. Give me a little bit of sound.
Well, it's gonna be off, but
No, but for you, for your mic, I need to hear it. I need to know when it drops. That's when you do the flashbang dance.
are we gonna do this together?
Yeah, stand up, Dust.
Alright, dude, let's do this.
Get out of your chair, lazy.
Here we go, it's dropping, dude.
Is it dropping?
It's dropping, dude.
3,
Yeah.
2,
Alright, dude.
1. Dance it. Flashbang dance. Right arm on the left. Get a little shoulder shake. You're blind. You're blind. Now move. You got the AK out. Your AK spraying. Your AK spraying. Give a little hip into it. Maybe a step as you turn. A little AK spray. Now left arm. You're blind. God damn it. I'm blind. Left arm. And we're back.
There you go. You guys got it. I think I threw
Tutorial
down
101.
personally.
Next
I
week
think I
we're
was
doing
going hard.
sea walking, and then we'll teach you how to Dougie. Back to you in the studio, Tom.
Oh man, I was gonna do a freestyle battle with you too, but I think I'm out of energy now. I don't have beats, so we'll say that for your stream one night. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, man. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one. And this big shout out to n0thing. Make sure you follow him up. Remember, www.n0thing, that's with the 0.tv. Yeah, link it again. Yeah, that's where you can find them.
Stream.
And it'll be all good.
Find all sorts of shit there. You can book a lesson. I'm starting a blog there. I gotta write another blog post soon.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, you got hurt. I got you though. I got you.
Oh Jesus, I linked something.
I got you. You're good. All right, man. Have a good one. Appreciate you coming, and have a blast.
All right, dude. Have a good one.
Peace. There you have it. A great episode of The Hype. Did the flashbang dance. We will freestyle on his stream one night. I can't even freestyle, so I don't want to do it.